Okay, let's wait for 1 or 2 few minutes. Okay, I think all are joined. So let's start our meetup. So good morning everyone. We warm welcome you on behalf of our organization and thank you for taking your precious time to learn about .NET 5 and .NET 6 through this meetup. So let me introduce myself first. My name is Kishan Jamaria and currently I'm working in Yudiz solution as a .NET developer and I am the host for the today's event. And along with me, Nancy Bhimani is the co-host and she is also working in Yudiz solution as a .NET developer. So before starting our meetup, I would like to introduce our speakers. So our first speaker is Manharsi Jadeja. He is working in Yudiz solution as a .NET developer. And he will guide you on the .NET 5 and .NET Core. And our second speaker is Chalpesh Nakul. He is also working in Yudiz solution as a .NET developer. And he will guide you on the features of .NET 6 and its preview. So our today's meetup topic is Fly with .NET, where you will learn about .NET 5, .NET 6, and the features of .NET 6. So do you want to add anything, Nancy?
Yes, first of all, good morning to all. Thank you, Kishan. As before Kishan introduced myself, Nancy Bhimani. So today's main motive is that all should have a clear idea about .NET ecosystem. As the slide suggests itself, that deep dive in .NET world. Are you guys ready? Okay. I think all are
Yes.
curiously wait. Okay. I think all are curiously waiting for the meetup. So let's start our first session of today's meetup is on tour of .NET World, and this session will be conducted by Manharsi Jadeja. So I would like to hand over this session to Manhar. Hello, Manhar. Not audible.
Yes, Manhar, you are not audible.
Hello. Now I'm audible.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So thank you, Nancy. Hello, everyone. I hope you all are fine. So first, let me introduce myself. As Kishan introduced myself, Jadeja Manharji. Currently, I'm working as a .NET developer in Yudiz solution. So before we start with our today's meetup, I want to clear one thing that we are here to not teach you. We are here to discuss with you. So be interactive. Whatever you know, that we will explore here, and whatever we know, that will we explore here. So this is all about the discussion. So before I explain about our today's agenda, I have a two question. The first, that how many of you are beginners in .NET? That they are currently
Mahesh
started or the
is,
before.
sorry
Yeah.
for
Yes,
interrupt
Kishan.
you. Your screen is not visible.
Okay. Now I think my screen is visible to you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, Madhu.
Yeah. So as I'm talking, that my first question is that how many of you are beginners in the .NET that currently started working in the .NET?
Yes, is the question from Raju, that you mean that session is not for beginners?
Yeah, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just explaining the agenda with the two questions. That my first question is that how many of you are beginners in the .NET world? Like the mainly agenda belongs to the beginners and the plus experienced developer as well. So I want to just know the how many of you are in the beginner in the .NET and how many of you are currently working. Okay, not an issue.
Hi, Anand is this
Yeah,
side. So
yeah,
seems like na. So other audience are mostly interested in so that you can continue. So, but let me introduce myself. So I am Anand Dev. So I
yeah,
have overall got 13 years of experience, but these are into distributed technologies like I mean Linux, Perl, and all those. Primarily, I have been working on .NET as well, but now recently I have shifted to .NET Core, and I haven't explored .NET 6 or even .NET 5 as well. So from that perspective, I am a intermediate sort of. I'm not exactly beginner, so I will be able to grasp
okay.
your thing, but so I'm curious to learn about from your team actually. Huh? So thank you
Yeah,
so
thank you,
much,
sir,
man.
for acknowledging.
Thank you.
So the yeah, so only the main purpose behind this two question that we have divided our agendas in the mainly three parts. So first we are going to cover the tour of .NET Core, where we'll see about the .NET Cores, the ecosystem of .NET Cores, which are the benefits of .NET Core. These are the things that we are going to cover in the tour of .NET Core. Then we will move forward to the .NET 5. So the thing is, those are beginners. They might have a question about the what is the framework and what is the code. So for that, I was asking the question. Those are the beginner. They will clear with this fundamental that what is the core, what is the framework, and what is the .NET 5. So these types. And afterwards, those are already working with the .NET or the any framework or in the .NET core. They will get the exposure of the .NET 6 that was currently on released preview on release by the Microsoft. So this was the main agenda behind this. So first, let's start. So before we start, let me explain the .NET schedule that released by the Microsoft. So as per the schedule of the Microsoft, in November 2019, they released the latest version of the .NET Core 3.1, and I'm sure the most of the peoples are using that as well. So in November 2020, they released the .NET 5. And afterwards, now in November 2021, they are going to release .NET 6. But the .NET 6 is coming in this November month. But before that, they have released around 5 to 6 previews of .NET 6 that we are going to cover in this meetup as well. Now, afterwards, if we talk about the future plans of the Microsoft, so in November 2022, they are going to release .NET 7, and in November 2023, they are going to release .NET 8. So now let's talk about our mainly today's agenda. So first we will go with the tour of .NET Core. So what we are going to discuss in the tour of .NET Core. So first we will go with the what is .NET Core, then .NET Core ecosystem, who use .NET Core, version of .NET Core, and at the last we will see the advantages of .NET Core. It will give some brief idea that why you have to choose .NET Core compared to some other technologies. So let's first start with the what is .NET Core. So the mainly purpose here you can see that .NET Core is a free and open source managed computer software framework for the Windows, Linux, and Mac OS for the operating system. So anyone from the audience, they can those are beginners or the anyone, they can see or they can ask or they can say that what is the open source or the cross platform. Anyone from audience?
Yeah, open source means that we do not need to, anyone can download the SDK and start developing. So that is an open
Yeah.
source. That means no proprietary license is required there. And cross-platform means earlier what was happening, like, Windows Server environment was needed to in order to host your .NET apps. But now you can, it is working in a containerized fashion. Like, you can host your app, develop in .NET Core even on Linux OS. I mean Linux server, be it AWS, be it Azure or anywhere. I mean Google as well, right? So that is cross platform.
Yeah. So as sir explained, the mainly purpose behind that what was the going happen before that in 2002 the .NET released the framework version 1.0, but the thing was that is only supported for the Windows. But the now world is moving towards to the new technologies. So in the 2016 when they released the .NET Core, that is the open source and the cross platform as well. So now we are not dependent only Windows only. Now we are doing the same coding on the Linux and Mac OS as well. And the second thing, it is an open source. So now if we want to reason behind that, now they execute the code with the same behavior in the different instruction set architecture, including cross 64, cross 86, and ARM. So the mainly purpose behind this, that this is the one advantages we can say that they are allowing us to set up our architecture, set up our framework into different architecture as well. So compared to the previous frameworks, now we are able to in the .NET Core, we are able to set that into the particular different architecture, like in cross 64, cross 86, and the ARM as well. Now the .NET Core developed by the Microsoft that we all know, and the thing is currently managed under the .NET Foundation. Just for your information, the .NET Foundation is one of the active community. They have around many millions of people are currently joined .NET Foundation, and they are helping to .NET developer as well. So this is the one of the active foundation we can say they are organizing or they are currently handling the .NET Core. And the main other thing is that the .NET Foundation is a non-profit open source organization. So they are helping the .NET developers to build the powerful solutions as well through their community support. So this was about the .NET Core. Now let's see the .NET Core ecosystem. So as I said, the .NET Core released in the 2016. The first version of .NET Core was released in 2016, and that was the .NET Core 1.0, and that was the open source. Now, it does not represent a new version of .NET Framework and will not replace it. Many of you have a question that when the .NET 5 released, at that time people have a question that .NET 5 is replacing .NET Framework or not. When the .NET Core release, people have a question: the .NET Core is replacing .NET Framework or no? So simply answer is not. Both are have their independent choices. That if as per your requirement, if you have to go with the .NET Framework, you have to go with .NET Framework. If your requirement is matching to the .NET Core, you have to go with the .NET Core. Yes, but we can say that .NET Core is upgraded version. We can say so compared to the framework, you will get some improved performance as well. So these are the things, but as per the requirements, you have to go. So it's a totally, we can say that they are not replacing each other. They are totally independent. Now, the core CLR uses JIT compilation and the garbage collection to run code. So the first CLR.
Can you hear me? Hello?
We can hear
Yes.
you. There was a little lag for a couple of seconds actually. So
Yeah, what happened?
It's actually some network issue from Manhar.
right. Should we wait for him to join?
Yes,
Yeah. Oh,
in just 2 minutes he will come back.
all right, all right, all right. In the meanwhile, can I go ahead with the question? So whenever you guys get a chance now,
Yes.
perhaps. Okay. So my question is like, so no, .NET framework like 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and all those, and now recently people has started switching to .NET Core. So do we see any specific reason in order to use .NET framework? I mean previous framework for new application. I mean I believe whatever was earlier the provided, or earlier the facilities provided in the .NET framework, those I think most of them, I mean I don't know about the specific thing, but I think most of them are there in the .NET Core as well, perhaps. So I think now people might will have to use the .NET framework just for the legacy purpose. So suppose if we have developed the app some 3 years ago or 4 years ago, and that time we started in .NET framework, and now we are just managing. So suppose if I at any given moment of time, if my organization start asked to start on a project, and do if I have the choice, then I will definitely go towards the .NET Core itself. So just curious about this answer. Let us say we can, if one from you can tell about this at the end of the session, might be, or whenever you get a chance. But I think my question is clear now.
Yes, Anand.
Yes.
Akash here. Hello, Anand.
Hi, sir.
Hello, Akash here. I'm a .NET
Hi,
developer
Akash.
in a Yudiz
Hi,
solution
hi, Akash. Hi,
and
Akash.
also
Yeah.
organizer. I guess your question is you are currently all of your projects and systems are in developed in .NET framework, right? And uh, you need to convert it on .NET Core.
Uh, so that is a little different thing actually. So I am curious to know. Suppose if at now if I am going to start a new project, in that case what should we do? So perhaps we should always start with the .NET Core thing. I mean go with the latest framework until and unless we have something that we have already developed 3 years ago or 4 years ago, and we are just managing those, huh? So that was my question. So all right, up. So
Okay.
Akash.
Okay.
Okay.
First, we will continue this this session, and then after a meetup, we will solve all of that your query.
All right, all right, all right.
Okay. Thank you, Anand.
Thank you, Akash.
Yes, thank you, Anand.
Hello, Manar. Are you here?
Seems like we lost him. I mean, Manhar. So he
Yes.
still doesn't have access to.
Okay. I will share my thought for this screen and for another screen. So we will start with the .NET Core. Uh, uh, have you any idea about .NET Core? Anyone have any idea about .NET Core?
Yeah, a little. So I have a little idea. Like I have done a project in .NET Core 3.1 LTS. So again, .NET Core, so when we start a new project in .NET Core, now it provides, so it gives us various options, like what we are going to develop, like MVC app or Web API or a combination of both.
Okay. So .NET. for another public and members, .NET Core is a free and newly, and that is a open source managed computer software framework for Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. So .NET Core is also cross-platform, and that is executed with different behavior cross 64, cross 86, and ARM. As you know, cross 64, cross 86, and ARM is different types of architecture of processor. .NET Core is supported with all of that architecture, and easily you can easily run your projects and your projects on a different architecture. And as you know, .NET full of .NET technology is developed by Microsoft, and also .NET Core is developed by Microsoft, and it is currently managed under the .NET Foundation. As you know, .NET Foundation is a very big community for a .NET developer, and if you need any question related to .NET Core and anything related to .NET technology, you can ask members and share with .NET Foundation members. And this organization is a non-profit open source organization. Many have a question. Many members have and participant have many participant have a question. .NET Core is open source, so .NET Core repository is where, on which platform .NET Core library is available. So on a GitHub, .NET Core .NET Core repository is available. I guess now Manasi is here. He will continue.
Yeah.
Yes,
Sorry
sir.
for the
Manas is
inconvenience, guys. Suddenly, even I don't know, someone removed me from this meeting, so even I don't know for that. Sorry for the
Okay.
inconvenience. I'm sharing my screen again.
Yes, Manasi.
Yeah. So anyone can tell me where I was last when I left?
Yes,
We
Manhaj.
have discussed about the .NET Core. That second
.NET Core
slide.
and
Okay. So we have to
cross
continue with .NET Core ecosystem.
Yes, Manhar.
Yes,
Yeah.
Manoj, this one.
Yeah. Now let's see about the .NET Core ecosystem. So as we see in the initial slide of the .NET Core, the .NET Core was released in the 2016, and that was the open source. Now the many of the same question arise when the .NET 5 was released. When .NET 5 released, at that time people have a question that .NET 5 is replacing .NET framework or not. And when .NET Core was released, people have a same question that .NET Core is replacing .NET framework or no. So the thing is that the answer is totally no. That all have their independent choices. Like if our client requirement matches to the .NET framework, we have to go with the .NET framework. If our requirement is matched to the .NET Core, we have to go with the .NET Core. But the thing is that if we talk about the process and the build improvement at that time, uh, Microsoft will say that you have to go with the .NET Core. So if we talk about the independent requirement, both are the totally independent. No one have any interconnection between them, we can say. So they are not going to replace each other. So it does not represent a new version of .NET framework and will not replace it. Now let's see, the core CLR uses the GIT compilation and the garbage collection to run the code. Now CLR stands for the common language runtime. Now let's understand the two terms here. The first is the GIT compilation and the second is the garbage collection. The GIT stands for the just-in-time compiler. So what will happen? It will execute our code and convert into the native code. But how will be the beneficial of GIT compilation? That it is not going to execute the whole code. It will execute the code as per the requirement. So like from my whole code, if I want to implement or they execute only the particular part of the code, At that time, I am able to do that. So what will happen using that? The process will be fast of the compilation. It will give output in the minimal time. So this is the one benefit we can say. Now the garbage collection. So as its name suggests, the garbage collection means it will collect the garbage. So now the question is that in the coding life cycle, what is the garbage? So the thing is, let me give an example that I'm initializing two variables in my code, that integer a and the integer b. But the thing is that at the runtime, I'm only using the integer b. At that time, I'm not using the integer a. So what will happen that whenever I am initializing any integer or any variable, it will allocate some portion of the memory at that time. But at the runtime, I am not using. So what will happen that it is a waste of the memory. But using the garbage collection, it will free that particular space. So if you want to initialize the other variable at that time, we can initialize. So this is the one benefit of the garbage collection, we can say at the runtime. Now, if we talk about which are the languages that is supported by the .NET Core, so C#, VB.NET, and the F# will be supported in the .NET Core. And the .NET Core has a .NET Core class library as well. It will give a good exposure while developing the .NET Core code. So this was about the .NET ecosystem. Now let's see who uses .NET Core. So if we talk about the unofficial data, or if we talk about the non-reported companies, there are the many companies and the many developers are using. But here let's talk about the only reported on the official data. So as per the tech stacks, around 191 companies that they are using the .NET Core. So we can see that the 190 around 200 companies. It's not a small number. So what will be the happen that using this type of huge number are using the .NET Core. So it will generate the strong community as well. So this is the one benefit we can say. Now, often it is used for the cloud application or the refactoring large enterprise application into microservices. Now in the .NET Core, we all know that the currently world is moving towards to the cloud as well. Now in each and every technology, cloud have its own space. So now the thing is that .NET Core wants to also integrate some part of the cloud. So what they did, now they're integrating the application, different microservices and the cloud application as well. And the last year they have also released the Azure Cloud Community as well. They will help to we can say integrate the cloud in our application as well. Now the many community active for the .NET Core, like the .NET Foundation. As we discussed before, that there are the many communities are available in the Microsoft, but .NET Foundation, one of the active community that will help us to building the .NET Core system. So whenever if you have any problem, or we can say if you want to any feedback modifying, we can directly communicate with the .NET Foundation as well. So this was about the .NET Foundation. Now let's see the versioning of the .NET Core. Now, as I explained, that first version of the .NET Core was released in the 2016, and that was the .NET Core 1.0. So now at that time, along with that .NET Core 1.0 version, Microsoft also released the Visual Studio 2015 as well. That will enable us to do the .NET Core development. So .NET Core 1.0 was released on the June 27, 2016. Along with the Microsoft Visual Studio 2015, which enables .NET Core to development. Now, if we talk about the current version of the .NET, so current running version of the .NET Core is a 3.1. That was the release in the 2019, and I am sure many of the people are using that as well. So current running .NET Core version is a 3.1, and it is released on the 3rd December 2019. So this was the version of the .NET Core. Now let's see the advantages of .NET Core, that why we have to choose or why we have to go with the .NET Core. So the first, as we discussed, that .NET Core is a cross-platform and the open source. Like in the previous or the framework, it is only supported for the Windows only. So what is going to happen that we can build our application in the Windows only, but now it is in a cross-platform. So now we are able to developing the .NET Core application in the Windows, Mac OS, Linux as well. So it is the one giving the huge platform for the developing .NET Core. Now the mature framework and the widely used programming language. Now the thing is how we can say that .NET Core is a mature framework. So the thing is that if we talk about some statistical data, so let's first see the first version of the .NET Core was released in 2016. So we can say we can see the huge gap between this the year that the .NET Core path. And if we talk about some data of the developer as well, so statistic data shows that around more than 1.5 million people are using the .NET Core in the Visual Studio. So we can say it's not a small number; it's a huge number that will show that how many people are using the .NET Core. So we can say that is the one mature framework and the widely used programming language. And if we talk about the more data, so the main thing is that as per the Microsoft, around 40% students, those are new joining in the .NET, they are able to use the .NET Core. If we talk about some other framework, it will reflect, or they might be happen that the only experienced people they can go with this thing. But now in the .NET Core on the .NET world, 40% students are joining. So what is the happening that it allows the student as well to starting their future with the .NET. So it's a mature framework and a widely used programming language as well. Now the .NET Core supports a wide range of application types. That we all know that using the .NET Core, we are able to develop, or we are able to make the many different types of application. Now the increased security with the .NET Core. Now if we talk about the framework, the huge improvement comes into the .NET Core security. If you want to know more about the details, you can go with the Microsoft documentation as well. They will give each and everything that in which particular field they have improved their security. So this was the advantages of the .NET Core, that it will shows the why we have to choose the .NET Core. So now anyone have a question in the .NET Core, they can ask. Otherwise, we'll move forward to the .NET 5.
Sir, if you could, explain in short about how .NET Core is better than .NET Framework, like just a few differences or something, that would be helpful.
Yeah, sir. The mainly purpose behind this that it is an initial phase. So those are new with the .NET Core or the .NET Framework. They have many of them. When I was new in the .NET world or in the .NET life cycle, at that time I have the same question that what is the framework, what is the core, and which are the upgraded version. So this initial agenda, two agendas will clear that thing, that the framework is different, core is different, and upgraded different. Why we have to go with that? So this was the mainly agenda behind, purpose behind that. Okay, so now let's go with the .NET 5.
Is it because like there is not every NuGet packages out there supports .NET Core, that some companies opt for .NET over .NET Core?
Yes, sir. If we talk about the Nugget packages, if we talk about the .NET 6 preview, in that they have also mentioned that there are the many issues is also coming, that some of the packages are not supporting. So they are incrementally trying to include the dependency in that. So it will think that it will take the time, but it will resolve in the few coming month or the few coming year, we can say, with the upgraded version.
Okay.
And then I have a question.
Yeah.
You have said that is a increased security. Can you please come up with some points so that we can learn right?
Yeah, as of now, we have just mentioned that it is an increased security. But as I said, that you can go with the documentation that will give a brief idea about each and every aspect. That in which particular implementation or which particular aspect they are saying that how they increase the security over to the .NET framework.
Yeah.
Okay. We are just giving the overview that they increase the security compared to the framework.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, now anyone a question, or we can move forward to the .NET 5?
Okay. Hello.
Yeah.
There was last question on the securities, right? So yes, we just can give some points where it is improved. Like there is some improvement on the authentication versus authorization, which is the part of a login process. We are storing tokens, so they have modified some
features in that. And apart from it, there are some securities improved in. There are some vulnerabilities. Like you can consider that there are some SQL injection attacks and some open redirect attacks. So they have addressed some attacks and worked on it and improved security on the same.
Yeah,
And
yes,
has
absolutely. And also dependency injection is also supported in .NET Core.
Yeah. Thanks for your explanation.
and yes, as Manar said, you can find details on the blog.
Yeah,
Microsoft.
will do. Yeah, will do. Thanks.
Yes, Manar, you can continue.
Yeah. So let's go with the .NET 5. So our next agenda is that why .NET Core to .NET 5. So the mainly purpose behind that, at that time when the .NET Core was released, what they are doing, the .NET Core have its own technology, or we can say own space. .NET Framework its own space. But now the Microsoft wants to build one unified framework that can cover each and everything into that particular one only. So after that, they release the .NET 5 that can cover the each and everything about the .NET Core, .NET Framework as well. So now in this particular agenda, we are going to discuss the 2 points. First is why not .NET Core 4, where we discuss the naming convention, that why the suddenly the Microsoft changing the naming convention .NET 5, why they not given the .NET Core 4, and afterwards we will see some glimpse of the tour of .NET 5 as well. So before that, let's see some of the basic things that which are the improvement comes in the .NET 5. So the first improvement was the C Sharp, F Sharp, and the VB Visual Basics update was there in the .NET 5. And the performance improvement is also come. And the thing is that in the .NET Core, compared to the .NET Core, now the libraries, 80% of the runtime libraries now the annotated to the nullable references type. And now the same question arises here. That was arise in the .NET Core. That the .NET 5 is replacing .NET Framework or the no. So the same answer that it is not replacing. It's our own choice. That as per the requirement, we have to go with that. Like if we talk about the .NET Framework, when your requirement is go with the web forms, at that time you have to go with the .NET Framework. If your requirement is a Windows workflow, at that time you have to go with the .NET Framework. But still, some of you have a question that definitely the .NET 5 is an upgraded version of the .NET Core, so it will provide the more performance improvement compared to the previous. So some of you have a question that if I want to implement the same thing with the .NET 5, how I can, or how I can decrease the dependency in the .NET Framework as well. So the thing is that if you want to build web forms in the .NET 5, you can go with the SP.NET Core Blazor as well, or the Razor Pages as well. So it will give the same implementation in the .NET 5 as well. And if you talk about the Windows workflow, you can go with the open source Core WF or the ELSA workflow. How using this type of different architectures, you can decrease the dependency as well in the .NET framework. Now let's see the as per our sub agendas. Let's first see the why not .NET Core 4. Now in this here image, you can see that the first version of the .NET framework was released in the 2002, and that was the 1.0. Afterwards, they released the other version as well. And in 2019, previous world, they released the version 4.8 of the .NET framework. So at that time, in the 2016, .NET Core comes in the picture. That in 2016, they released the first version of the .NET Core, and that was the 1.0. Afterwards, in the latest version, previous to in 2019, they released 3.0 and the 3.1. So then now the Microsoft thinks like in the .NET framework, they already reached to the 2019 4.8 version. So what they think that might be it will be collision between, or it will generate the confusion between the users or the developers. So what they do to continue with the same naming sequence, they suddenly change the sequence with the .NET 5. So what they did, given the name to the particular .NET Core 4.0, compared to that, they've given name to the .NET 5. So it will reduce the collision, or we can say it will reduce the confusion. So now we can see that 2019 3.0, directly in 2020 .NET 5 was released. Yes, but .NET 5 is an upgraded version of the .NET Core 3.1, we can say. So this was the main reason behind that. Now, if we let's talk about tour of the .NET 5. So there are the many other features as well, but in this due to .NET 5 covers and the many other features, added to features as well. So the first feature is a top level statement and the second is a .NET MAUI. So let's first see with the top level statement. So what will be the happen in the top level statement? So top level statement makes some assumption about your code that allow you to simplify it. Now using this example, you can see that in the traditional coding cycle, what we are doing that we are defining the namespace. In that we are writing the class. In that we are writing the main method, and in that particular we are writing our logic. But what will be the happen? These are the traditional flow that we are following from the since time. But the now thing is that if we are writing the same thing in each and every code, now we should be able to reduce that. So they implement that in the .NET 5 top level statement. Now what will happen? That will assume some things, and it will if you not write, it will be okay. Now if no namespace is declared, it is assumed that the global namespace is being used. If you here in the below code, you can see if we are not mentioning the any namespace, what will happen? It will assume that the .NET global namespace we are using. Now the also if not specified, it is assumed that the code belongs in the main method of the program class. So if we directly here you can see we have directly written the console.writeLine. So what will be the it will assume that we are writing this logic or we are writing this coding line into the main method only. So it will help us to reduce our coding burden as well. This was the one good feature in the .NET 5. Now let's see the MAUI. So .NET MAUI stand for the .NET Multi-Platform App UI, and that is the one user interface that will allow us to reuse our same code into the different environment. Like we can say we can use or deploy that same code or the reuse into Android, iOS, macOS, and the Windows as well. Like here you can see the .NET MAUI stand for the .NET Multi-Platform App UI and is a user interface framework. So now we are able to do the same code or the same code we can reuse in the different operating system as well. The same code to be reused to deploy Android, iOS, macOS, and the Windows all in the one project. So now there are the two different patterns or the architecture that MAUI is using. The .NET MAUI supports the well-known MVVM architecture or the we can say MVVM pattern that stands for the model view model. So basically, if you're some of you are aware about the Xamarin, in the Xamarin we are using the same architecture or the same pattern, and that is the MVVM. And the second is the new one is the MVU. It is the model view update pattern. So these were the two features that we are going to cover in the .NET 5. There are the many other features is also there that the init setters and the record as well. So, but in this we are going to cover these two features only. So this was the some overview about the .NET 5. So if anyone have a question in the .NET 5, you can ask me or you can write in the chat box as well. Otherwise, now we have a break time.
Hello, Manat.
Yeah.
One of Ravi is here, and Ravi have one question related to top level statement. Can you explain once again or briefly explain for
Yeah, sure.
top level statement?
Okay. So the mainly purpose behind the top level statement is to reduce the burden of the code. Like what we are doing in the traditional parts, what we are doing that in the above code here you can see these are the coding style that we are using. That we are first declaring the namespace. In that we are declaring the class. Afterwards in the class particular we are writing the one main method, and in this main method we are writing our logic or the anything that we want to do code. So here we have write the console.writeLine. But the thing is that now these are the same traditions or we can say same code lines that we are doing in every code. So it might be we can do that. We can reduce that. So what will be happen in the top level statement? It will assume the things. How? That if no namespace is declared, it is assumed that the global namespace is being used. Here you can say that we have not write any namespace or we have not declared the namespace. So what will be the happen? It will assume that we are using the global namespace. So now no right to, here you can see the in tradition part we are defining the namespace here. But now in this particular using the top level statement, now we have known to write that particular. Now also if not specified, it is assumed that the code belongs in the main method of the program class. So what will be the happen here? You can see in the below code, we have directly write the logic statement that console.write line. But in traditional part, what we are doing that in particular static void main method, we are writing this. But now when we directly write this logic, it will automatically assume that if I have not write this anything, it means it will be written only in the main method. So it will assume the thing. So this was the one beneficial we can say in the top level statement that will reduce the coding structure.
Sir, about the coding structure, if you don't mind asking this,
Yeah.
do we not get any compilation error if we are writing in this kind of structure, right? Like outside the main method or something?
No, yeah. Using the top level statement, if we write directly this using system and console.write line, we are not getting any error. If we have installed the .NET 5.
Nice.
This is the one feature.
I have one more question here. So,
Yeah.
whatever you're saying with respect to the assumption that it is part of the main statement, it would be valid if it's a console application. But what about if it's a class library or some other web application? Then in that case, how does this top level statement work? I know I'm going a little bit out of context, but just have this question.
Yeah, the thing is that mainly what we are doing that it will assume that in the particular class, if we are not writing the main method, it will automatically assume that we are writing in the main method. If we declare any class, whatever our logic will be there, we are writing in the main method only. So it will assume that if we will not write, it will assume that we are writing in the main method. If I am not understanding your question wrong.
Is it now what I'm asking is it irrespective of the project? I mean, we have different types of projects in project templates that we have, right? We have a console application, and we have like console application definitely has a static void main method that we know.
Yeah.
But we also have like MVC application wherein like you can choose an MVC template and then go for your development, or the project can be a class library also. Class library, we usually write it for writing our business logic and all those stuffs that we do in the actual business logic, that we will write it as a class library rather than writing it as either because console application and web applications and all, it's mainly like the front ending part of the application, whereas the class libraries, we write it for the business logics, right? So just wanted to know, like even in class libraries also we can write code like this, is something just I wanted to know.
Yeah, sorry for that. I'm not more confident about that. So if anyone from the audience, they want to answer this question.
Let me try to answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, Ravi, as you said, there are multiple templates, right? We have MVC, class library. So here, this is just a depiction, is what I understood. Here it is a console application where using system namespace is being used in both the places. But if you are thinking about the business logics in class library, assume like system.collections are generics, right? That is one of the namespace that we commonly use. So that you can use like this as well. So it is not like console.write line using system namespace can be used in the class library. This is just a logic where you can use your collections as well like this outside your class library, class method or class program.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Akash, for the link. Thank you.
Sorry, adding a point on that. So what I understand is if you just try to mix out the writing the namespaces, is that allows without compilation errors will it run? Is that my assumption? Is that correct? So if I just try to miss out the namespace and write over some function, a system.text, let's say I have chosen the system.text, add missed it, and in the below code I had chosen a string builder class. So if there is no namespace, will it allow?
Hello.
Hello. Sorry. Will you come up again? I didn't understand.
Yeah,
You.
sure. What I understand was, if you try to miss out the namespace and write, use the methods. Let's say console.writeLine is extended from system namespace. So if I
Yes.
try to miss out this namespace, it doesn't raise any compilation error. Is that correct? What it meant?
So you mean if you're not using the using statement, like using an system and still it's working? Yes, it will work for a top level statement. Uh,
Okay.
Yeah, hello.
yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, actually, this top level statements is applicable for program class. Okay, wherever we have static void method, so this concept will be applicable to that file. So if generally, if you see, if you create any project structure, MVC or web API, by default, program.cs will be created. Okay,
Yes.
we no need to type anything there. So in the main method we will do call the startup classes and all in the in the web or MVC. So what this feature is giving is no need to have the trapper class method and namespace. Directly just whatever we want to write inside the main method, just we can do that. Beyond that, this top level statement has no meaning with web or any other framework. So coding wise also, so just as we as discussed, it reduces the, like as they said, it reduces the lot of lines. Like it really doesn't matter. It hardly removes a static void main class method and namespace. That's it. Other than that, this feature is not applicable to any general classes. Like general, we write general classes, right? This is only applicable for the main method which resides in the program class in the .NET Core environment.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you for
makes
sharing.
sense. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. I think I was wrong then in the other statement. Thanks.
Yes. After also hand over okay. If anyone have a question related that.
Okay.
Yes, Manar, continue.
Yeah, over to you, Nancy. Hello, am I audible?
Yes. Yes. You.
Yes, yes, you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
If you have any question, you can ask. Okay, I think no any questions. So
I have one point. If anyone can help me out in what is middlewares and why do we need them in .NET Core, it will be really helpful.
yes, can you re-ask the question?
In .NET Core, we have the concept called middlewares, right?
Okay.
Yes, Manhasi, you can give the answer.
Yeah. Yes, sir, you can continue.
He has a question like we can use middleware in .NET Core. So what is the middleware? Right.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes, you are giving answer.
yeah, you continue if you have any idea.
Okay, yeah. So the mainly thing is that middleware, as its name suggests, middleware is in a middle thing between our web and we can say our particular API. What is the thing is that whatever our web part that we are declaring will be in our middleware. Like if I am doing some project with the API, what will be the happen? There will be the two different separate project will be there. One will be for API and second will be the middleware. So whatever I am designing for particular web, that will going to show into the we can say client view that we are going to develop or that we are going to write into the middleware. So which we have made the APIs in the particular API project that we are going to use in this particular middleware.
Uh, okay. Thank you, Manar, for answer. Let me correct some points. Like, so middleware is a kind of software or application for .NET Core, which assembles our application in a pipeline to handle some request and response. Right. So it has some components which which decides like we need to pass this request to the next component or to the pipeline, or we can that specific component will execute your task, and after that they will move to the pipeline. Like basically it is kind of a filter where your request and response will be managed. So that is the feature of ASP.NET Core middleware. As you
Okay, I
as you
think
as you know that there are some filters in we can create some filters for some authentication, right? And we writing some logics, and same way we are creating some middlewares, and there will be some middlewares that is aligned in a pipeline. So whenever you passing any request or any request received to the server, it is passes to the middleware. Then it is decide I need to perform this task or I need to move to the next logic, right? There are some certain set of logics written for the same, and then it is reproduces the response. Yeah, I hope I cleared your answer.
Yes, man. It was good. Thank you.
Yeah, I have one question. So generally in Windows machines, we host our web applications or web APIs in IIS server. So .NET Core is cross-platform, right? So we can deploy our web apps in Mac or any other operating system. So what kind of servers do we need to have it in Mac and Linux?
Uh,
Windows, it's we are clear IIS.
okay.
Yes.
Okay, Narendra.
So
Nagendra, sorry.
yeah.
I guess good question. Because on a Linux and on a Mac server, you need to install first .NET Core or .NET 5 hosting bundles and on hosting bundles, and then after you can deploy your published files on a server.
Yeah, which server I'm asking, like in if you see in the Windows operating system, if you go
No,
to control
on
panel, we
Linux,
can
on
enable
Linux,
the IIS server and
on
sorry.
Linux.
I think there is Kestrel server something like in .NET Core, which is introduced in .NET Core, and it's quite for the replacement for IIS for other platforms.
Yes,
If
yes,
I'm
but
not wrong,
for
Kestrel
that,
server is for like cross-platform server hosting and all purpose. If I'm not
Yes,
wrong.
you're correct.
yes,
Let's say if you
but
do
for
any
that,
works in your project.
Okay.
uh,
Let me set some input for hosting. Right. As you said that we can host our Windows server. If we have Windows server, we can host in IIS. For Linux server, we need some shared Linux server, I guess. Uh, you can consider like DigitalOcean. They are providing servers on the Linux. So basically, for .NET Core and .NET 5 application, we need to install some SDKs on that. So there are some certain set of instructions and commands, because you know that in the Linux we normally do some installation by using the terminal and
yes,
else,
yes,
right? So we need to install some its basic SDKs, and we can also install SQL server on Linux using some commands. There are some set of commands, and we can also host our .NET Core applications and on the Linux server. Yes, like obviously .NET Core before .NET Core we just move our application to the some folder, and there will be some database connection and it is automatically work. But for .NET Core we need some specific server. Also for the Windows we need some dedicated server which where we are installing the SDKs, and then we will use uh, host our application on IIS. Same as we need to follow some procedure for the Linux as well. We need to install some SDKs and then we will use to host our application. So I hope I clear some of your doubts. Maybe.
I'm not able to send messages in the chat. Any restrictions applied to any things?
No,
Because
no,
I'm
I
not able to send
even
messages.
Everyone can send.
No. All can able to send messages on chat, like chat. No any restriction.
So seems there is some
No issues.
seems there is some restriction.
If you still have some issues, you can reconnect. So maybe it will be resolved.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
and by the way, can I share my sort of dedicated server? Now, what we generally prefer, so like we host these apps like .NET Core apps as an app service on either. So there are 2 3 platforms very common like Azure, AWS, and nowadays Google Cloud has been taking popularity as well. So all these three of them are actually providing uh, offer an option for you to host your app. And so you just need to choose the technical stack there. Then you need to choose like .NET Core 3.1 you are choosing as a technical stack. And now operating system what you are going to choose, like it will give you option for Linux or Windows or whatsoever. And just from the infrastructure point of view, you will just download the publishing file, use that publishing file in your Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code, and thus you just publish the file and everything. So now the headache goes to AWS or Azure or Google Cloud to how they are maintaining those infrastructure, and they are they have their all huge infrastructure and resources to manage those servers. And we are not very much have the headache of maintaining those servers. Like earlier, I mean 3 4 years till 4 3 year back, we used to manage our apps on our server like .NET server or dedicated server or even shared server, but those days are gone now. So all these infrastructure we are using in cloud. So I think the gentleman who asked this question will not have to worry about configuring the server on our own, like IIAS or everything. And as far as you are doing the local running, so I think Visual Studio Code or Visual Studio, you can definitely run your apps on the local environment.
Yes, perfect.
So all right. So that was just based on purely based on my experience, because I have been hosting apps on Azure, I have been hosting apps on AWS, and I have hosted actually .NET Core app as well. So that is really pretty much very easy. Half an hour is sufficient for hosting a new app there. So thank you.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you, sir. And thank you, Manan, for sharing their valuable information with us. So it's time to break. Like we have some fun event. So the fun event is based on identify the icon. In this event, you have to identify the icon which will be visible in your screen, and you can give your answer in chat box, or else you can raise your hand and unmute yourself and you can give your answer. So let's play some fun event. Yes, ma'am. So identify this first image. Anyone guys? Yes. The answer is
Azure.
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 Yes. Yes, Anand. Yes, Divya. Yes,
Word.
they've answered
Microsoft
given
Word.
correct answer. Okay. So the any guesses for this? Yes, Anand.
Word 365.
Yes.
Word 365.
Yes. The answer is correct. MS Word. Okay. So the next is.
I mean, unmute.
So I think most of the people you are using this app in corporate life for the update.
Excel.
Yes. Yes. Many of you are given correct answer. Yes, the answer
Guys,
is
if you are
MS
not
Excel.
able to write in a chat box, you can unmute yourself as well.
Yes. Okay. So to identify this image.
SharePoint.
Yes. Many of you given correct answer. Vijaya, Anand. Okay. So moving next, I think many of the people are using this application while you are coding. I think all our all aware about this?
Yeah, Visual Studio.
Yes.
Visual Studio
Yes.
2019.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, 17 too.
The answer is Visual Studio. So moving towards the
VS
next.
Code.
Visual Studio Code.
Visual Code.
Yes.
VS Code.
VS Code.
Yes. Yes. The answer is Visual Studio Code.
Office
So any
365.
guesses for this?
MS Office.
Office
MS, yeah,
365.
MS Office.
Yes. The answer is MS Office.
Task,
Yes. Some
to
people.
do
To-do app.
task.
To do task. Yeah.
To-do task.
Yes.
Yeah, to do.
All are brilliant.
Yes. All are given correct answer. Thank you. You are very
Right?
interactive. Yes. Moving towards the next.
OneNote.
Identify this icon.
Yeah, OneNote.
Yes. Yes. Yes, Anand. Yes. You have given correct answer. MS Note. So the next is
Access.
any guesses for
Access
this?
database.
Access.
Yes. The answer is MS Access. Okay, so it was a little bit fun event. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. So moving towards the next session, our next session is preview tour of .NET 6. And this session will be conducted by Jalpesh Nakum. So I would like to hand over this session to Jalpesh Nakum.
Thank you, Kishan. Am I audible?
Okay.
Yes, Jalpesh. Okay.
Wait, I guess Sadiq Abbas have a question.
Yes.
You have raised your hand, so if you have any question, then you can ask.
Hello. Yeah, that was for the
Yes.
event, I think, and
Okay. Okay, no issue.
that was
Yes,
for the
Jalpesh.
event. Before speak, you have asked me to.
Okay, no
Okay.
issue.
Okay, continue.
Yes,
Jalpesh,
Jalpesh, you
you
can
can
continue.
continue. Okay. So are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So hello everyone. So as Kishan introduced, my name is Jalpesh Nakum, and now we discuss about why .NET 5 to .NET 6. So in this topic, we discuss about the basic of .NET 6 and preview tour of .NET 6. So first of all, basic of .NET 6. So officially .NET 6 will release on November 2021, but in present, Microsoft community released 6 preview of .NET 6, which type of feature they are included in .NET 6. So all the features are not supported in our stable version of Visual Studio 2019. So here we discuss these features in Visual Studio 2022 preview version. Because inside the Visual Studio 2022 preview version, .NET 6 all features are supported. So now ready for preview tour of .NET 6. So as per the preview released by Microsoft, we found some quite useful features that we are going to discuss in this meetup. So we will not discuss each and every feature of .NET 6, but here we listed some useful features such as a priority queue, hotelier with the Visual Studio debugger, distinct by, mix by or min by, union by, date only and time only struct, build improvement, compression, and default font in the Windows Phone. So now let's discuss each feature one by one. So first of all, priority queue. So as the name suggests, priority queue is a one type of a queue, but with a priority. So we all are aware about the collections. So collections is a very useful in a C#. So mainly we have two types of collection, generic collection and non-generic collection. So now in .NET 6, inside a generic collection, now we have a new collection, priority queue. So what are the now question is what are the operation we are using for insert and delete value inside a priority queue? So as I said, priority queue is one type of queue. So can anyone tell me what are the operations we are using for insertion and remove element inside our simple queue?
NQ and DQ.
Yes, yes, correct answer. So here is the answer. We will use priority queue for insert element. We will use NQ operation, and for remove any value inside of priority queue, that time we will use DQ operation.
So now we think our new collection is similar like queue of T. It means our priority queue is similar like a generic queue. So what are the differences between a priority queue and a generic queue? So mainly two difference between a priority queue and a generic queue. First one is a NQ operation. So when we perform an NQ operation inside of a priority queue element, that time we must be specify the priority of each and every element. And second one is a DQ operation. It means when we perform a DQ operation inside of a priority queue element, that time, first of all, remove that element which have lowest priority. So this is the main difference between a priority queue and a simple queue. So now let's take an example so we have more idea about it. So my Visual Studio screen is visible?
Yes, Jalpesh.
Yes.
Yes, Jalpesh.
Okay. So here you show that here we take one variable of a priority queue, and as I said, we insert some value by using NQ operation. So here we insert some value with their respective priority. So here you show that we insert A, B, C, D with their respective priority 3, 1, 2, and 3. And as I said, we remove element by using a DQ operation. So let's see the output. So we have more idea about that. So as I said, when we perform DQ operation inside of a priority EQ element, that time, first of all, remove that element which have lowest priority. So here you show that B has only one priority. So first of all, remove B because B has only one priority. It is the lowest priority compared to another one. And after that, remove C because C has only two priority. It is the lowest priority compared to another one. And here you show that D and F both have three priority. It means both have same priority. So whenever more than one element have a same priority, that time either D or either A. It means stability is not guaranteed. First of all, remove D, after that A. It means for stability is not guaranteed. Select a random value and remove that. So this is all about a priority queue element. If you have any question about the priority queue feature, then ask me. Else we moving forward our next feature. No? Okay. So now our next feature is a hot reload with the Visual Studio debugger. So hot reload. So we all know that what is hot reload. But now in .NET 6, hot reload with a new experience that enable we to edit our application source code while our application is running without needing to manual paste or hit a breakpoint. So hot reload is a very useful process, but sometimes when we change a little bit code in our application and after that for apply that code in our application, we need to reload our application. So that time hot reload is a time consuming process. But now in .NET 6, hot reload improve developer productivity by reducing the number of times we need to restart our application. It means now in .NET 6, we don't need to restart our application on that time whenever we some little bit code changes in our application, because in .NET 6 when our application is running, that time we have a new button. It is a apply code changes button. So it enables when our application is running in a browser. So now we easily apply our code whenever our application is running without hot reload or without restart our application. So now let's see the example. So here you show that one application running in a browser, on the same time we some code changes in our application. So after that, we need to click only our new button, apply code changes button. And without hot reload and refresh the page, when we click our test button, then here you show that message box is open, hello.net hot reload. So this is about hot reload with the Visual Studio debugger. So now moving forward, our next feature, it is a distinct by. So we know that distinct by is a selector function which return those objects who generate unique result. So distinct by is a very simple extension snippet for a C sharp, which allow the developer to remove duplicate object in a collection based on one of its property. So now let's take an example of a distinct by. So we have more idea about that. So here you show that inside a variable result, we take a range 1 to 20 and distinct by x derives x modulo 3. So let's see the output. So here you show that output is 1, 2, and 3. Because here we take the range 1 to 20 and distinct by x derives x modulo 3. So it will return only 1, 2, and 3 because those are generate unique result. Another are, it means 4 to 20, it will return those type of result which are already included in 1, 2, and 3. So they are written duplicate records and not included in our result. So now we change in our condition. So we have get more idea about that. So we our apply condition x derives x modulo 4 instead of 3. So now again rerun the application. So here you show that output is 1, 2, 3, and 4 because another are, it means 5 to 20, it are written those type of result which are already included in your 1, 2, 3, and 4 result. So this is all about the distinct by. So now moving forward, our next feature is a max by or a min by. So now, as the name suggests, max by used for find maximum element using a key selector, and the same for min by. Min by is used for find minimum element using a key selector. So max by and min by used for find maximum value and minimum value as per our condition. So it is as the name suggests, it is used for find maximum value and find a minimum value. So let's take an example of a max by and a min by, so we have more idea about it. So now here we take one variable with two parameter, string name and integer age. And inside the string inside the people variable, we have some record, zone 20, rows 30, and mark 40. And now we apply our condition min by, and we specify the condition persons derives person age. So it will inside a result variable, those object are it means inside a result variable, those object returned who have minimum age. So now let's see the output. So here you show that output is a zone 20. Output is a zone because here you show that zone is only 20 age and it is a minimum age compared to another one. And now it is a same process for a max by. Suppose we apply new function, our is a max by, and our condition is same, persons derives person age. So now let's see the output, and here you show that output is mark because here you show that mark is 48 and it is a maximum age compared to another two. So now this is about a max by and min by. So here you show that our condition is based on age. It means integer data type. So now what will be happen when data type is string? Suppose we change our conditions, persons derives person name. So now what will be happen? Let's see the output. So we have more idea about it. So here you show that output is rows because that time it will return rows because when we sort our person name in alphabetic wise descending order, that time rows is a first, so it will return rows. So same for min by. Here we change our conditions. It means people min by with persons derives person name, and we apply our conditions. So here you show that output is a zone because that time it will return zone because when we sort our person name inside alpha that time it will return zone because when we sort our person name in a alphabetic ascending order, that time zone is a first, so it will return zone. So this is about a max by method and min by method. So now if you guys any question about that methods, then ask me. Else we moving forward our next feature. No one? Okay. So now our next feature is a union by. So union by method is used to combine the result set of two or more select statement. Whenever we want to use the union by, that time we require more than one object or more than one variable. So the union by method select only distinct value by default. So as we discussed, distinct only return unique record. So when we use union by that in our application, that time duplicate record are automatically removed by default and return only unique records. So now let's take an example of union by, so we have more idea about. So as I said, if we want to use union by in our application, that time we need more than one element. So here we take two variable, first and second. So now both have two parameters, string name and integer age. So now inside the first variable, we have three records, 120, rows 30, and mark 40. And inside the second variable, we have another three records, Jack 30, Harry 30, and Joey 33. So now inside a result variable, we store first union by with second, and our condition is persons derives person age. So now inside a result variable, first of all store six record, and after that check our conditions, persons derives person age. It means as I said, union by only consumed unique record. So here you show that our condition is persons derives person age, and here you show that Jack has 30 age, and 30 is already included in our first variable. Rose has 30. So Jake and Harry both have 30 age. So both record are duplicate record. So they are automatically removed and not included in our result variable. So now let's see the output. So here is show that our condition is depends on age. So automatically duplicate age record are removed. So here output is John, Rose, Mark, and here you show that Joy is 33 and 33 is a unique age record. So it's automatically append with our result variable. So now change in our condition. So we have more idea about it. So here you show that our condition apply person serious person name instead of age. So now let's all name are unique. So no any duplicate record here. So all variable are inside the store our result variable. So this is all about the union by method. So now moving forward, our next feature, it is a date only and a time only struct. So now moving forward, our date only and time only. We all are aware about the date time. So in .NET 6, date only and time only represent one half of a date time, either only a date part or a time part. So date only used whenever we want to display the only date. Like it means suppose we want to display only birthdays, anniversary days, business days. It aligns with SQL Server date type, and same for a time only. It means time only is used whenever we want to display that only time. It means uh, we want to display some specific time like meeting time, alarm clock, weekly business hour. It aligns with the SQL Server time type. So now moving forward, our next feature, it is a build improvement. So now this is the graph between the .NET 6 and .NET 5 building performance. So mainly graph between a millisecond and a project type. So first figure between a clean build inside a Blazor server application. So when we perform a clean build inside a Blazor server application with .NET 5, that time it will take more than 3.5 seconds. And same project when we build inside a .NET 6, that time it will take only 1.5 seconds. So now second graph inside of incremental build inside a Blazor server application. So when we perform an incremental build inside a Blazor server application with .NET 5, that time it will take 2.5 seconds. And same project when we build with .NET 6, that time it will take less than 1 second. So now third graph inside a clean build with MVC project. So when we perform a clean build inside MVC project with .NET 5, that time it will take approx 2 seconds. And when we same project build with .NET 6, that time it will take 1 second. And last one is incremental build inside a MVC project. So when we perform an incremental build inside a MVC project, that time .NET 5 occupied more than 1 second, and .NET 6 it will only take more than half second. So this is the major building improvement inside .NET 6. So now compression. So this is the single file bundle now support a compression which can be enabled by setting the property enable compression in single file. So now if we want to apply this feature in our application, so we need to enable compression in single file equals to true in our startup file. So at a runtime, file are automatically decompressed to memory as necessary, and compression can provide a use space saving for some scenarios. So after enabling this feature, files are automatically decompressed. Files are automatically compressed at a runtime and provide a use space saving. So here you show that we have two pictures without compression and with compression. So when we publish our application without compression, that time Nugget Package Explorer occupied 172 MB. And after enabling this feature, when we publish the same website, that time here you show that Nugget Package Explorer only occupied 71.6 MB. So this is the main use. This is the many use space saving by using this feature. So now moving forward, our last feature, it is a default font inside a Windows form. So now we can set a default font for an application with the set default font. So these features for a Windows form. So now we to set our default font as we want inside our Windows form. So by using add single line of code, we easily change our default font. So we need to add some line of code inside our program.cs class. So now let's take an example. So here is show that I create one default Windows form application, and inside that I take one label, hello world. And here I am not to specify any default font style or font width. So first of all, I run this Windows Form application. So here is show that here hello world label is display with a default font style. And suppose now we want to change our default font style. So then, as I said, we need to add some line of code in our program file. So we need to add application dot set default font, and we need to specify our font style with font width. So here I set default font is a chiller with font width 40. And after that, we again rerun the application. So here is show that our default font are easily changed. So by using this feature, we are easily change our default font in our Windows Phone. So this is all features about the Windows 6 .NET 6 preview feature. So if you guys any question about any feature which I explained, then ask me. Hello.
It's amazing session.
Yes, Kalpesh.
It's amazing session. I guess Surya have any question?
Yes, I have a question. Those minimus by and max by, right? That min by and
Yes.
max by. I have doubt. Actually, that's a return. I mean, that results are written multiple. I mean, list or only. I mean, only one element, which means if they have same. Actually, can you please go to the slide?
Yes. Yes.
That before that minimum this one. You have show me a demo, right, using this.
Yes.
Like age names like that.
Yes.
Yeah, can you please open that? Here
yes.
Here if I if using this percentage, can you please add one more record, I mean with different name, I mean just change that name. Yeah.
Yes.
Now it will return the two records or only one records.
Yes, let's see. Yeah, only one record.
In output,
let's see. Now we set check.
because we
So
have
here you show that it will select first record. Here you show that when we apply when Jake and John both have same age, that time it will return Jake, and our first record is a John. That time it will return John.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yes, Kalpesh.
If we return as
Actually,
a list, I mean, if we return as .to list, means it will return the list, or else this, I mean, same record.
yeah,
I mean,
Surya,
you have
to answer your question, I think we have to convert the result as a array type, and then you have to
yeah
loop it to get it all done. Because right now the result is a single type, so it will return the first record, whatever it is comes from the data. If you make it as the array type and then loop it, so you can get all the records which is matching your query.
yeah. Thanks for the clarifications.
Great.
Okay, thank you. And Kalpesh, one more question from Jignesh that he has don't know about filter. So can you help him?
What about
Filter
filter?
in the min-max. In the min-max. Yes, Jignesh, can you there? So you can unmute yourself and you can ask your question. Okay, I think is that.
Okay.
Okay, anybody have any question? Okay. So thank you, Jalpesh, for sharing your valuable information with us. So, so the next is we all know that every interactive discussion generates effective output. So anybody wants to discuss related to .NET 5 or .NET 6, they can discuss now. The stage is open. So anyone want to discuss, then there can discussion. If you want to discuss about any topics that .NET 5 or .NET 6, so you can discuss here.
Yeah, guys, for this particular meetup, we go through the 5 previews that was released by the Microsoft, and before 1 or 2 days, Microsoft released the preview 6 as well. So I have not read that particularly. So if anyone have an idea about that, which are the particular things that mentioned in .NET 6 preview,
Yes.
so you can share as well that. Now it's an open discussion. You can discuss anything about the .NET world. No one?
Okay.
Okay, Manara.
No one? Okay. So thank you for joining this meetup, everyone. We appreciate you all for the taking time from your busy schedule and had been a part of our meetup. So we all know that every meetup will be a part of our milestone. So thank you for being a part of our milestone.
Thank you so very much.
Yes, Akash.
Yudiz team. So thank you. It was really an interactive session as well as I was able to clear many of things related to .NET Core. So with this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Anand. Akash here.
Thank you.
Akash here.
Yeah, hi, hi Akash.
Yes.
So sir,
I will share all these demos and all the code related to this session and this PPT also, this presentation also. I will share with you, and I also add this in on a GitHub and share in discussion also. Share this in
all right. Yeah, thank you so very much.
welcome.
Right.
Welcome. If anyone need to discuss, yes, Kishan. If anyone need to discuss related to anything related to .NET technology, we will discuss on chat or else discuss here. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So we share one feedback from link in the chat box. So we are kindly requested to go there and give some feedback. So that will be very helpful for us. Okay, so we are ending our call here. So stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe, and stay connected with us for the next meetup.
Thank you. So yeah, going to fill up that form and looking forward to next session. Thank you. Bye.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, guys. You are
Sure,
very
sir.
great.
We are also waiting for this type of enthusiast audience.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Right.
Yes.
Okay,
You guys
bye.
are very great.
Okay, bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Happy weekend to all.
Bye, everyone. Once again,
Bye,
thank you for
everyone.
joining and make this event valuable. Bye, everyone.